Thrillin' 30 RC. Control yourselves, viewer, no matter how much that rear bumper tempts thee. Thrilling 30 was such a great promotion. The Generations line took the idea of the Classics line and expanded it even further beyond, with better sculpting, more sizes, and featuring more characters not just from G1, but now from Beast Era, Unicron Trilogy, G2, movies, and even the comics. And it was nice to see figures of characters you wouldn't first expect. Skyby, Chromia, and Double Dealer aren't the highest on people's figure wish list normally, but this line really upped their appeal. And with this line, we finally got a proper figure of G1 Arcee. Now, just hearing that sounds confusing to some of you, no doubt. Hasn't Arcee been part of the franchise since the movie? Almost everyone else got a toy. Why not her? It's easy to see why Unicron took so long, because he was a big, beefy boy! Well, buckle up as I quickly talk about G1 Arcee's complicated history. There was supposed to be a figure during G1, but all that exists is this not exactly great concept art where she looks like a fertility idol. She was also supposed to be in Headmasters, which was clearly just going to be a reworked Chrome Dome. There was supposed to be one in Action Masters where they wouldn't have had to have worried about the whole transforming aspect, but that never came about. There was also supposed to be an exclusive figure for BotCon 96, but BotCon 96 is a story unto itself. They made a redeco of Black Arachnia in white and pink for Beast Wars, which was neat, but not exactly the same. There was supposed to be one for the Titanium series, which, oh dear god, we dodged a bullet there. Then there's Binaltech, which gave her gender reassignment surgery, which this is the second time this character has been involved in gender reassignment surgery, because there was that whole awful IDW storyline where that happened. Why the hell was that even a thing? Are you so scared of robots with boobs? So, after almost 25 years, we finally get a figure of G1 Arcee that not only looks like her, and is a really good figure. It also has one hell of a dumpy. Look at how immediately charming she is. The pink on white practically screams 80s. We have the modern articulation and stylization that make it feel just marvelous. For the most part, we'll get to that. And that smile. A bright, warm, inviting grin in comparison to the mostly neutral or grouchy faces a lot of Transformers have. It's nice to have one that's just happy to be here. Also, speaking of bright, she probably has the best light piping gimmick I've ever seen on a toy, seemingly absorbing light from any corner of the room. Pretty dang impressive if you ask me. On the back, you have this backpack, which, alright, let's address this. Arcee is sadly a shell former. What's a shell former? Well, basically, it's where most of the exterior bits for the alt mode wrap around the toy more so than actually form part of it. It's a common trade-off with figures that aim to be a bit more slender. Some people are really bothered by them, but for me, it depends. You have some toys which really are just a shell, quite literally in some cases, with lame transformations. But then you have some where the shell bits are styled in such a way that it actually looks quite cool, or they aren't in the way of the toy's articulation. Arcee is given a backpack, but it at least resembles what I imagine a backpack for robots would look like she's on a jaunty trek in the mountains. Also, the articulation is great. The head rotates, the arms are amazingly movable, though no wrist articulation, and while the legs can't go too far straight, they can still rotate plenty, and she even has ankle pivots, and the backpack never gets in the way. She can do things like taking a sippy, fighting off enemy invaders, recreating the Jean-Claude Van Damme truck splits, and backing that ass up. The transformation is simple enough, and yeah, a lot of that is due to the shell, but at least the legs are convincing enough as the side of the car, and it packs in everything mostly well, including the junk in the quite literal trunk. And the car itself is wonderful. Not only does it roll well, but it looks like a sci-fi version of an Italian sports car, being just as curvaceous as the woman droid herself. I love the dips, the little antenna on the back, this comically long front with such angry eyes. For the shell, it packed a lot inside that backpack. You even have seats and a dashboard. It's also nice to have a Cybertronian vehicle that doesn't just look like a lump of robotic space whatever. You know, I'm like, As far as problems, I do have one big one, and it's aside from the backpack. Is it just me, or are Thrilling 30 figures really fragile? Somehow Arcee's hand snapped a bit, and Thrilling 30 Rhinox's knee plates don't want to stay on. I praise you in my first toy review, you traitor! But still, this is a really great figure overall. I give it 4 risque fan arts out of 5. It's a flawed figure, but it finally gave us Arcee while recapturing everything that makes her great. And even beyond character fan service, it's a good figure in its own right. It can also be picked up for pretty cheap online, so give it a grab. It's especially nice because after she showed up, there's been no shortage of female Transformer figures compared to before. It does raise a question, though, about female representation and potential sexual divides in toy marketing, which I'll talk about here in this video essay where I'll... Control your... And that killed it. I killed her. I killed her!